Hello everyone, I am again here. We'll today start with the properties of square numbers. So, as on board you can see there are squares of number from 1 to 20. We together will see the squares of the number from 1 to 20. Okay, so the square of 1 is 1. Square of 2 is 4. Square of 3 is 9. Square of 4 is 16. Square of 5, 25. 6 square, 36. 7 square, 49. 8 square, 64. 9 square, 81. 10 square, 100. 11 square, 121. 12 square, 144. 13 square, 169. 14 square, 196. 15 square, 225. 16 square, 256. 17 square, 289. 18 square, 324. 19 square, 361. And 20 square, 400. So I have respectively written all these squares of number 1 to 20. These squares from 1 to 20 is advised for you all to get memorized through. 1 square till 20 square every child should have in the memory, from the square of 1 to the square of 20, that whichever number is given to you, you are very quick to reply, like 6 square, it's 36. 15 square, 225. 19 square, 361. 10 square, 100. 12 square, 144. So, I hope that by next time when we'll meet in the next video, you will all go through the squares of 1 to 20 and will definitely memorize all these square numbers. So, first of all, writing these two tables, the squares from 1 to 10 and then 11 to 20 on the board, I have some motive behind that. And the motive is to find something which is unique, something which you can see, you can look upon, and you can tell me, oh yes, the squares are of these kind. This is a property of square. So I'll give you a minute, have a look, note down the table in your copies, notebooks, and have a look on the squares of the number. You will come to know some secrets behind them. So I'm giving you a minute, note it down in your notebooks and come up with some facts, some secret facts behind that. Okay. Here I am again. So, for you all, to make it more easy, I have written with my blue marker numbers 0 to 9. Now I am giving you a task. These are the 10 numbers from 0 to 9. Find which of them are a part of square numbers. I need to say, sorry, one thing to interrupt. Look them at units place or ones place. Look for these numbers at units place or ones place. Ones digit, units digit. Look for 0 to 9 in the unit digit of the square numbers. So in this, it is 1, it is 4, it is 9, it is 6, it is 5, it is 6, it is 9, it is 4, it is 1, and it is 0. Look, in these numbers, which are the units place, which are at units place? It is 1, it is 4, it is 9, it is 6, it is 5, it is 6, it is 9, it is 4, it is 1, it is 0. Still, can you reveal the secret? Okay, I'll help you. See, in these 20 numbers, in these square numbers, in these 20 perfect squares, in these perfect square numbers, in these 20 perfect square numbers, you will see, mind it, you will see that there is 1, there is 4, there is 6, there is 9, and there is 0. There is 5. Look again. Look all these numbers. Look the digit numbers. Digits place number. Look the digit place number in square numbers. You will see that either you will have 0 at units place, or 1, or 4, or 5, or 6, or 9, and nothing else. You can see this is still 20. You can make your own table from 21 to 30, 31 to 40, from 41 to 50, and you will find the same property. So I conclude that square numbers never end with 2, never end with 3, never end with 7, never end with 8. So, in case I give you a number, I say 3, 6, 2. I say 3, 6, 2, and ask you whether it is a perfect square or not, whether it is a square number or not, whether is it a perfect square number or not. You will first of all, if you are smart, you know the property now. If you are smart enough, you have property now that you can look at units place. And since at units place the number is 2, I conclude that 2 cannot be at the unit place of square number, because this is a property we have studied, isn't it? Again, if I give you a number 368, a big number, and I ask you whether it is a perfect square or not, a smart child now knows the property of square number, and he knows that since the digit place of the square number is 8 and square number can never end with 8, so 368 is not a perfect square. Isn't it? Isn't it a trick? Isn't it the interesting property? So yes, I repeat again what the property is. All the square numbers, mind my words, all the square numbers can never end with 2, 3, 7 or 8. These are the 4 numbers. If given to you at one's place and being asked whether the number made by them at units place is square number or not, you are smart enough now to reply. Even in a quick fraction of second, you will say, no, they are not perfect square. If ask you why, then you know that the square number can never end with these 4 numbers. Right? Now coming to the rest numbers. Suppose I give you 19. Okay, and ask you, without solving, you have to let me know whether it is a perfect square, whether it can be a perfect square or not. So looking at it, the ones place we see that there is 9. Since there is a 9, so yes, 9 can be at the unit place. But I am not confirmed. I can say it may be, it may not be. Because here, see, 9. And then the next number is 16. And the next number is 25. So no 19 is there. Right? So 9, having 9 at unit place doesn't conclude surely whether the number is perfect square or not. But you can say yes, it can be, it cannot be. But if instead of 19 it would have been 18, you can surely, damn surely you can say no, it is not a perfect square. Why it cannot be perfect square? Because 8 cannot be at the units place of a perfect square. Isn't it? So if anybody gives you a number like 1, 0, 2, 2, 2 and ask you, okay, I give you 5 minutes and solve that whether it is a perfect square or not. And now you are a smart child, you know the property of the square numbers, you will say in a fraction of a second, I don't need 5 minutes. No, this is not a perfect square. And if he asks you why, then you reply, 2 cannot be at the end of the square numbers. It cannot be at the ones place of square number. This is the property of square number we have learned. Isn't it? But yes, instead of this, it would have been like this. 1021. There you are not damn sure. You are not 100% sure. You can say, yes, it may not. Because having 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 and 9 at units place doesn't mean that it's 100% square number. It can be, it cannot be. It may be, it may not be. Okay, so everybody knows number between 30 to 40, right? 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, right? Can you let me know 2 numbers for which you are damn sure that they are not perfect square? Any 2 numbers of your choice. So, beginning with 30, it can be because there is 0. 31, it can be because there is 1. But 32, 100% sure, lock kar do ise. 32 cannot be perfect square. Similarly, next number 33 cannot be perfect square. So I ask you only 2 numbers. So 32 and 33 and 37 and 38. These are the 4 numbers for which I am 100% sure without solving them that they are not perfect square. Okay, now give me next 2 numbers which may or may not be perfect square. So yes, 31 may not be perfect square. 34 may not be perfect square. There are many like 35, 36, 39. They may or may not be perfect square. For them you need to solve. But for these 2 numbers, you were 100% sure without solving that yes, they are not perfect square. While these numbers are perfect square because they end with their units places 1, 4, 5, 6, 9. I hope you got it. Okay, next number for you all, 1057. 1057. Without solving, you need to tell me whether it is a perfect square or not. Yes, you are correct. It is not a perfect square. Why it is not a perfect square? Again, you are correct because at units place the digit is 7. And if a number has unit digit as 7, it cannot be a perfect square by the properties of square numbers. Isn't it? Okay. Write 5 numbers. Write 5 numbers which just by looking, you don't need to solve, I'm specifying it, you just by looking say that they are not perfect square. Write 5 numbers which just by looking you can say that they are not perfect square. So, it's your job. Start writing the 5 numbers which you can just by looking say that they are not perfect square. I'm giving you a minute, waiting for your answer. Okay, I ask you 5 number. Just by looking, we can say they are not perfect square. Okay, I can make many such numbers. So 10,227, 5-digit number. Okay, now another simpler number, 17. Another simpler number, 19. Sorry. 19. 18. Another simpler number, 13. Another simpler number, 6. These are the 5 numbers which just by looking I can say that they are not perfect square. I can take one more example for this. 22. So I covered all those numbers. 2 is there, 3 is there, 7 is there, 8 is there. 2, 3, 7, 8. Since they are at units digit, they cannot be perfect square. Okay? Now, the same question, but this time write 5 numbers which you can just by looking say that it can be perfect square, may be perfect square, may not be perfect square. Write 5 numbers which just by looking, you are not confirming by solving it, you just by looking you need to say that whether it can be a perfect square or it may not be a perfect square. It may be a perfect square, it may not be a perfect square. Okay, so the first number, very simpler number, 20. Okay, 2,225. 26, 29, 34, 35. 35 I already covered, so let me take one here. Okay. So these are the 5 numbers which I wrote, which I can say that they may or may not be perfect square. To conclude them whether they are perfect square or not, I need to solve. This is the part which we'll study further in the chapter. But right now, since we are just learning the properties, we have to just look upon the number and say that whether they are perfect square or not, whether they can be perfect square or not. So for these numbers, they may or may not be perfect square. They may or may not be perfect square because the units place has number 5, 6, 9, 4 and 1, which can be at the units place of perfect square numbers. So this is the first property of square numbers. We have learned the first property, and the property goes like this: 2, 3, 7 and 8. They cannot be at the units place of square numbers. I repeat, four numbers, 4 golden numbers which cannot be part of perfect squares at units place. Mind it, I have used the word units place. 2, 3, 7 and 8. These are 4 numbers which cannot be at units digit of perfect squares or square numbers or perfect square numbers. Now, if there is a smart child and any biggest number comes to them like this, and if it's asked whether it's a perfect square or not, he'll simply say no. In a fraction of time, you'll say no. Why no? Because looking at the units place, you only need to look upon units place. If it has been like this, right? It is also not a perfect square number. Why? I am talking about only units place. I am not talking about any other digit number, any other place digit. Like once is this tens, hundreds, thousand, 10,000. I am not looking at them. I am looking at only units place. These numbers cannot be the part of unit digit in the square numbers by looking at the properties of perfect square. I hope you got the first property. These two numbers are not perfect square. Why they are not perfect square? Because 8 is at their units digit. So 2, 3, 7 and 8. These are 4 numbers. Mind it. 2, 3, 7 and 8. They cannot be at the units digit of perfect squares. Now I want you all to look at these numbers which I am highlighting. I highlighted 1 square, which is 1, 11 square, which is 121, 9 square, which is 81, 19 square, which is 361. Now, I hope you get what I want to say. Yes, you are correct. Square of 1 is 1. Square of 11 also ends with 1. Square of 9 ends with 1. Square of 19 ends with 1. Understood? So I conclude that if any number whose units digit is 1 or 9, any number whose unit digit is 1 or 9, and it is being asked to square, so you can say without squaring that the square number of those numbers will always ends with 1. Like there's a simpler question to you. Which square number, I think it's not this one. Okay. Which square number will end with digit 1? Simple, my question to you, straight. Which square number will end with digit 1? And there is option to you. First option 33, second option 31, third option 39, fourth option 37. Whose square? Whose square will end with digit 1? Which square number will end with digit 1? Which square number will end with digit 1? So, the square number of the numbers whose unit digit is 1 or 9 ends with 1, right? So, here we will see the unit digit, it is 3. So, its square will not end with 1. The next number is 31. We have at unit digit is 1, and we know that the number which ends with 1 gives the square which also ends with 1, right? The number which ends with 1 or which has units digit number as 1, the square of that particular number also ends with 1. So 31. Next is 39. Yes, it will also end with 1. Why it will end with 1? Because we know that square of numbers with unit digit 1 or 9 always ends with 1. So 39 square will always, I don't know what's the answer, but I know one digit and the digit is at one's place there will be 1. At 37, what about 37? What do you say? No, 37, the square of 37 will not end with digit 1. I hope you got my point. What I want to say? I want to say that if given you a number like 41, 49, 51, 59, 61, 69, 71, 79, 81, 89, 31, 39 and asked you to do the square of these numbers, and then they ask what will be the digit number, units digit number, or what will be the number end with, what will be the number digit at their units place. So you simply, without any hesitation, will see that since the numbers are ending with 1 and 9, their squares will end with 1. Their squares will end with 1. This is another property which we learn. We learn that if a number whose at unit place the digit is 1, then the square of the given number will also end with 1. If given number is 9 or the number if ends with 9, the square of that particular number also ends with 1. I conclude my statement again. If a number which ends with 1 or which ends with 9 have their squares end with 1. Clear? I hope it's very, very clear to you all that if a number ends with 1, the square also ends with 1. If the number ends with 9, the square of that particular number also ends with 1. So there are two numbers which we can say whose square ends with 1. The number which ends with 1 or the number which ends with 9. Similarly, I want to see you more. There are more such similarities. You just have a look, have a glance on the table which is being made for you for from 1 to 20. You will find that this property is exhibited by many other numbers too. Now I'll highlight those numbers which I want you to look upon. Look. So this time I am not going to make the property. You are going to let me know what will be the property. And yes, you are correct that if a number ends with 2 or number ends with 8, the square of the number will always ends with 4. See what I want to say is very clear from the table. See, if given number ends with 2, if given number ends with 8, 2, there are two numbers. Which two numbers? If a number ends with 2, if a number ends with 8. The square of those numbers will end with 4. Always, blindly, you can conclude it blindly. This is the property of the square numbers, that they will end with 4. Okay, repeat it again. The square of the numbers ending with 1 and 9 end with 1. The square of the numbers ending with 2 or 8 will end with 4. Okay? See, there are many more. Relate them. You can see this now. I am highlighting with my blue marker 3 and 7. 13 and 17. Again exhibiting the same property. If number ends with 3 or 7, if number ends with 3 or 7, their squares will end with 9. Yes, that's the property. So 3 and 7, they are pairing up. 1 and 9, they paired up. 2 and 8, they paired up. Right? What is next left? I am again using my blue marker, and this time I want to see those which I tick. Those numbers which I tick for you. See 4 square. Square of 4, 16. Square of 6, 36. Square of 14, 196. Square of 16, 256. There is again similarity. There is again the repetition of the property. And what is the property now? Now you are smart enough to judge that if number ends with 4 or if number ends with 6, the square of that particular number will end with 6. Right? So which all those numbers paired up? 1, 9, 2, 8, 3, 7, 4 and 6. These are the 4 pair we made. And number which is 5, number which is 15, number which is 25, number which is 35, 45, 55, 65, 75, 85 and all which ends with 5, the square of that number will also end with 5. So this is the next property, that the number whose unit digit is 5, the square of that particular number also has unit digit 5. So the square of 5 ends with 5. The square of the number at units place 5 or the number which ends with 5 has a square end with 5. Now, most important, most tricky another property for you all. I hope you are not confused among all of them. You are very much clear now. For you, I'll revise each of these property again at last. Now we are wind up with 1 and 9, they made pair. 2 and 8, they made pair. 3 and 7, they made pair. 4 and 6, they also made pair. And 5 is like, if 5 then ends with 5. What about those numbers which end with 0? What about those numbers which end with 0? You see, if it is 10, how many zeros are there in 10? It's 1. And you see it's a square. How many zeros are there? 2. You see another example. It's 20. How many zeros are there? 1. In the square of 20, how many zeros are there? 2. Right. Just wait. Just wait. There is something which is tricky. Okay. 10 square. Very smart. 100. What about 100 square? What about 1000 square? You can try. You can find. Without solving, you are smart enough to say how many zeros will be there in the square of this number which has 5 zeros in its number. So if there are 5 zeros, how many zeros do you think will its square has? Now that's the question to you. And yes, you are correct. Just double. Just double. So if there are 5 zeros, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Simply, without any hesitation, you can write. See, if there is 1 zero, the square has 2 zeros. If there are 2 zeros, the square of the number has 4 zeros. Just double. If there is 3 zeros, the square of the number has 6. If there is 5 zeros, without solving you can say there are 10 zeros. And you know, if instead of 10 it would have been 20, you know it's 400. If it's 200, it's 40,000. If it is 2,000, simply put 6 zeros behind 4. And that's make the answer. 40x. I hope you understood what I want to make you all clear. For the zeros, this is tricky. The question comes like this: how many zeros will be there in the square of 20? So now you know. Since the 20 has 1 0, so its square will have, yes, 2 zeros will be there in the square of 20. If I give you 200 and ask you the same question, how many zeros will be there in the square of 200? And you will without any hesitation say 4 zeros. Right? I hope you got the trickiest part of the zeros, that number of zeros get doubled in the squares of particular number. Right? Okay. And with this we come at the last property of the square numbers, for which I again want you all to look at the table which I am making. Now I hope you all must be able to let me know the squares of number 1 to 10. So the square of 1 is 1, the square of 2 is 4, the square of 3 is 9, the square of 4 is 16, the square of 5 is 25, the square of 6 is 36, the square of 7 is 49, the square of 8 is 64, the square of 9 is 81, and square of 10 is 100. Alright? So the very last property we are at, and the property goes like this. Have you ever heard the numbers even and odd? So even numbers are those which can be divided by 2 completely, which are divisible by 2, they are even numbers, and odd numbers which are not divisible by 2 are odd numbers. So numbers which are even are 2, 4, 6, 8, they all are even numbers, and odd numbers are 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, they all are odd numbers. So I want you all to look on the numbers first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What is the square of 1? Is 1. What is the square of 3? Is 9. What is the square of 5? Is 25. What is the square of 7? 49. And what is the square of 9? 81. Thus, now you can guess what I want to say, that the square of odd numbers are odd and the squares of even numbers are even. So this is the very last property of squares numbers, and I hope you are very much clear with the properties of square number. For you, here's a last recap of today's lecture, today's video, and the recap goes like this. First property, 2, 3, 7 and 8 cannot be at the unit digit of square numbers. 2, 3, 7 or 8 at cannot, see the word cannot, be at units place of square numbers. Second property, square of numbers, ending with 1 and 9 also ends with 1. Square of number ending with 2 or 8 ends with 4. Square of number ending with 3 or 7 ends with 9. Square of number ending with 4 or 6 ends with 6. Square of number ending with 5 ends with 5. If you want, take a pen, note down in your notebooks. For me, I need more space. Okay. So the third property, number of zeros in square of number ending with 0. Number should end with 0. Ending with 0 is double, as in given number. I hope you understood the statement. Like, if in given number is 10, the square number will be 100, right? So the number of zeros in the square number will be double the number in zeros of given number. And the very last property, square of even number is even. Square of odd number is odd. And here I conclude with the properties of square number. For you all, this is the recap of today's video on properties of square numbers, and I am giving you a task based on today's topic. Please do write the answer in the comment section of the video. And also, if you have not liked and shared our channel, please do it now. Waiting for your answers in the comment section. Will definitely reply to the answers given by you. Write 5 numbers. Write 5 numbers which are not perfect square. You need to write those 5 numbers which we can just by looking, which are not perfect square. Just by a look, you can say that they are not a perfect square. Write 5 numbers which are not perfect square. Which of following number will end with digit 6? And the very last question. What will be number of zeros in square of 20 square and 100 square? Waiting for your answers in the comment section. I will definitely reply to the answers given by you. For the next, I'll be seeing you in the next topic with the patterns of the square numbers in the next video. Till then, bye-bye.